morning and happy Saturday. Welcome back to Grown Girl Talk with your beautiful host, Stacey J. And I have an even more beautiful guest, Miss Danica Royster. She is amazing. She's a woman of God. She is very civic minded, which means that she is very concerned about helping other people. Miss Danica is a wealth consultant and she's also a city councilwoman for the city of Norfolk. How amazing is that? So let's give her a round of applause. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Danica. How are you?
Good morning, Stacey. I am doing well, and I couldn't be in a better place to be here with you virtually on the first Saturday of June. This
Yes.
is amazing, and so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Each one of my guests, I always say, like, you're a phenomenal woman. You have so much going on, and yet you wear all of your roles and all of your hats with so much grace. And the same can definitely be said for you. I think you might be one of the busiest people I know. Just watching you like on social media and stuff, I'm like, oh my goodness, how many hours are in her day?
24. I need more, but 24.
Yes. It's like you keep things so organized, and you always look like you are very focused and have a very business mindset, business focused mindset, and yet you still have fun too when you're out handling your business. So that's awesome. So I want to jump right in and ask you some questions because you are a wealth and financial consultant, and that's always like a very, it can be kind of tricky to talk about sometimes when we start to talk about finances. It can be kind of embarrassing sometimes too.
Mhm.
But this is a place of transparency. This is a safe space. And so I just want to start off with asking you to explain to our audience what a fiduciary is and if you are one yourself.
Yes. Well, first thing I wanted to address is I appreciate how much you spoke over me maybe before we even started this. So, to the ladies who are watching and maybe some brothers that they might have brought into the room with them, I want to talk about how important it is to speak over yourself. And you did bring up a great point in regards to sometimes when it comes to talking about money and finances, within our community, particularly the Black community, there's a lot of taboo about talking about money. It's like we don't talk about money, we don't share about it. And some of that also ties to people's relationships with money. You know, I had a client who told me her relationship with money growing up is they didn't have any.
Mm.
So when she met me, it was like starting on a very clean slate because it's like I've come into money via her income, via the education she was able to go and get at a HBCU. And we had this conversation about, you know, repairing your relationship with money first,
Yeah.
as well as what you speak over yourself, because there's oftentimes a lot of generational curses that we have to, you know, we have to break. And we have to always remember that, you know, what man says and has spoken of our lives is not final. It's what God has for us. And I don't believe that my God is broke. And I don't believe that my God,
Absolutely.
you know, put me in a, or you have to speak this over yourself, puts me in a position to continue to create bad habits that will continue to flow for generations and generations. So before I answer your question, I want to know that I'm speaking to an audience of people who are ready to break generational curses and repair their relationships with money.
That's
So
awesome.
I
And I
want to make sure
love when
I brought that
people,
up.
no, I love when people come on and mention generational curses. I know it sounds crazy, but that is one of my favorite words because if you don't know, then you don't know.
Mm,
So if we don't start to accept the fact that generational curses are a thing, they
mhm.
do exist, then we can't start to put the work in motion and start to create action plans to overcome those generational curses.
Exactly. And one way of doing that, to tie it into your question of what is a fiduciary is a person, financial professional specifically, I'm going to be talking about, who acts in the best interest of their client.
Hmm.
So years ago, it's not even years ago because unfortunately it's still happening. You still have these articles that come out about financial advisors, educators, whatever they want to call themselves, whomever, and they scamming people, or
Mm-hmm.
they're doing things in their best interest and not in the best interest of their client. So yes, to answer your question, I am a fiduciary. I always operate from a space of integrity, but I always make recommendations, give advice, and even if it comes up for a product that needs to be recommended, it will always be in the best interest of a client.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Particularly, what I find is you have a lot of persons who will be working in some type of financial capacity, whether licensed or unlicensed. And certain things have commissions and things tied to them. And in the past, there were a lot of advisors and persons in the financial professional who would sell products, make trades, make recommendations because they knew that the commission or the payout for them would be higher. Now, that's not acting in a fiduciary role. That's looking out for yourself and not for the client. So, yes, I am a fiduciary. I operate from a place of integrity. And I told someone the other day, I don't look good in orange, except for on today. This is a sherbet orange or stripes. So, I'm not going to jail or paying a fine for
I
anyone.
know that's right.
So
I
that's
know that's right.
so that's something that's important, as well as when you're doing your homework on an advisor or a consultant who you want to work with. Asking in that question is really important. So I appreciate that for being the first question out the gate.
Absolutely. I sidebar when it comes to being a fiduciary, is it some you know how like business owners have to post their license?
Hmm.
Is that something that has to be posted in your office?
Yes. So we have something in our office, but also as a consumer, what you can do is there's a broker check ID where you can go online and you can actually type in the person who is coming to you, and it will list where they've worked, years of experience, if they've
Mm-hmm.
had any complaints, if they've had any fines, if they've been reprimanded. So that way it's a place for you to go, and also you can see people if they're licensed or not. So I'll give you that in a follow up email, just if you want to hand out some
Yeah,
follow
absolutely.
ups for our audience. But Broker Check is a good place to go, as well as if you look at my email tag, I have a disclosure at the bottom of all my emails. The same thing is listed on my website, the same thing is listed on my LinkedIn. So I'm not only held accountable to God, but also to FINRA and my broker dealer and my RIA, and most importantly, my partner in business, my father.
Oh my goodness. So not only your father in heaven, but your earthly father.
Right. Keep it
Yes.
well rounded.
So you got to make sure you dot all your I's and cross all your T's. But the
Of
thing of
course.
it is, you're just a person who takes integrity very seriously.
Hmm.
And, you can just tell by just following you on social media. I will tell my audience that I reached out to Danica to assist me um, to be a panelist for my Pens and Purpose event that's coming up on July 16th. I sent her an email and instantly it was a yes. It was a yes. And she didn't even know that
No.
there was like a 6 degrees of separation kind of thing.
More
Like
like
she and my
two.
husband, yeah. She and my husband went to the same church for so many years. And before she even knew that, she was just excited to help. And just having that spirit of servitude and excellence, it means a lot. And so I'll stop right here just to say that whatever you need from me, whenever you need something, just let me know. I am here for you. Not just to return the favor, but just to continue to create a relationship, a genuine relationship. I genuinely feel like we're so much better together. And if I have something that you need, girl, I'm going to give it to you. No questions asked. Like that's just my love language. Just giving
Mm,
people what it is that they need to thrive in life. And one of the prayers that I'm starting to pray is, God, help me to be a bank for other people. Like,
Mm.
even if it's not just, being able to just give them money for whatever it is, but to be able to employ people, knowing that
Mm.
they work for somebody who is full of integrity, who knows what it is to work for someone who is not the greatest boss. And so therefore I'll do my best to be the greatest boss. And
Mm.
so yeah, that's just one of my prayers. And just connecting with someone like you, I feel like we're on the same wavelength. You know what I mean? So
Well, I think you brought up a good point. One of my things is hashtag forward together. Like you can go far by yourself, but you can go further when you have others with you.
absolutely.
And I just come from a place of, what God has for me is for me. So
Yes.
me pouring into someone else doesn't empty me.
Oh
If
my
anything, it fills me back up, and
God.
it solidifies
This is my love language. I love it. I love it. This is so good.
it solidifies, God's promise. And
Yes.
one of the things I know I said it earlier, like I don't believe my God is broke. I just don't. I
Yeah.
don't believe that, I don't operate from a place of scarcity. I believe that there's more and more out there. And me feeding and pouring into people, whether it be in my role at First Genesis or in my role on city council, to me, that's a purpose lived filled life.
Hmm.
But along with that, with a calling comes great responsibility.
Hmm.
And with great responsibility requires for you to have great discipline. And so when we're talking about money in particular, I like to tie into being a good steward of what God has, provided you with. So I am a tither. I will always preach tithing and giving back to God. Like the old song used to sing, me and Alan probably sang in the choir at Third Baptist, give and I'll give it back to you.
Hmm.
Shaking together, rolling, running over, all of that. But they're not just words, it's how you live and what you do, and also putting it in your
Principle.
mindset. So being a good steward over your finances mean, budgeting, paying off your debt, not being indebted to someone forever,
Hmm.
saving and, for the next generation for a rainy day, sharing with community. And this is how we get into the conversations about your habits and what are you doing today and how it impacts your future for tomorrow.
Hmm.
I know I took it probably not
No, no,
what
that's
you think
awesome
for our listeners
because
to talk about, but when the spirit calls, you answer.
yeah, you better answer. But that ties right into my next question about budgeting because you mentioned discipline. And
Mhm.
so a lot of people, don't want to say the word budgeting, but it is necessary. And so to you, how important is budgeting? And should we start to create budgets for different things like vacations, rainy days, college, or just different things, even maybe household appliances if we need
Mhm.
repairs. So how important is budgeting?
It is very important. If you have a very shaky budget, you will have a very shaky financial life. And that is just is what it is. Because not to say that you have to have it down to the nickel and dime and penny of what is going to be spent, but you should have a really good idea of your income, what's coming in, and your expenses. Now, when we start talking about budgeting for things, you have to once again get into your needs versus your wants.
Mm-hmm.
Your need is like you have to pay your mortgage. You want to, buy all the cute things at TJ Maxx and Ross to decorate your bathroom, living room, and all those things. But honestly, you don't really need it. You just want to. So, getting into evaluating your needs versus your wants. You brought up a really good question in regards to like vacations. So, even setting a budget for how much you vacation is important. That's a want. But if it's a want, that's something that does not take precedence over the things that are your priority.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do is I've set myself with a vacation budget every year. And my goal every year is to always try to take 2 international trips if possible, and then some trips in between to see family, friends, etc. And because, people get married, have kids, so that might require some traveling. Now, before I get into like, hey, I'm going to go spend that money, I always have my own financial checklist of as I have I handled my financial business in my household before I go make somebody else some money.
Mhm.
So evaluating, hey, have I done what is required of me before I go have fun? And if you haven't, then, you know, that's some self work you have to do. If you're saying, hey, I'm willing to make poor choices to live in the now, which I can
Mm.
tell you a lot of people, they do, but they end up regretting it.
Yeah.
They just do. So I would say, you know, planning out your budget for the year is always good. Um, Trying to like, for example, your birthday is going to be the same day every year. So if you know when your birthday is, you know, have an idea of what you want to do, put a dollar to it. I actually have a vacation savings account, and
Mhm.
it's an account that I use for vacations. So once the money is gone, there ain't no more vacations, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, and my goal all the time is to kind of restock, and I save money into that all the time too, along with my other, you know, emergency savings and my retirement, etc. So having some separate accounts is that's really good. Day to day or week to week type habits, I definitely used to be an envelope pusher. What that means is I used to carry cash in my envelope. So it was like, hey, Danica, we going out tonight? I grab my going out envelope because this is all my money that I have for the month. Leave my debit card at home and or a credit card at home. So this needs to account for tips. This needs to account for whatever. But once it's gone, it's gone. So that's another tidbit I tell or share with people, that there's no shame in being an envelope person, but you know, budgeting is necessary. And what I find is most people, the things that are taking them out regarding their budget is the fun stuff. You know,
Mm.
eating out, happy
Yeah.
hour, vacations, concerts. You know, I had one client who told me the best thing that happened to her was the pandemic because it forced her to sit down and reset. And now with outside being back open, you know, you have to continue, like we said, that discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. You mentioned in your envelope, even accounting for tips. And I saw somebody posted on Facebook was like, if you don't have enough to tip, then you shouldn't even eat out. Um,
Agreed.
I do believe that, and I'm so glad that you mentioned tipping because that's how people make their living. You know,
Hmm.
and you're shortchanging people. So the fact that you even include that in your budget, that's awesome. So
Hmm.
thank you for saying that. Um, and so we talked about like vacations and rainy day funds. What percentage of a person's income should be set aside for rainy days, like those emergency funds?
So traditionally, I used to say pre-pandemic 6 months, 3 to 6 months. Now I'm holding on strong to 6 months to a year because we experienced not a rainy day, but a Category 5 hurricane over the last 2 years.
Right.
And a lot of people were not prepared. And also, you know, you have to get into some other things, you know, beyond just your basic expenses, because people experience job loss.
Mhm.
People had medical things happen. So I'm, you know, encouraging people. I used to say 3 months at a minimum, 6 months at a high. Now my standard is like 6 months to a year's worth of pay you need to be putting aside.
True.
Now
I
the
got some work to do because I was still doing it 3 to 6 months. So I got
well,
some adjusting to make.
Well, what I'll say is, you know, it's always good to have goals, right? So
Hmm.
you hit your 3 month goal, great. That's wonderful. You hit 3 months, solid, wonderful. Why would you stop?
Hmm.
Because sometimes things can happen in between that could extend your emergency time past 3 months. Look, like I said, we've been in a pandemic for 2 years.
Hmm.
There are some people who still have not financially recovered.
Right.
And what's important is, you know, having kind of like that parachute to that's kind of, you know, there to help save you and make your landing, even though you're having to jump out the plane, a little bit easier versus, you know, free falling out here. So it's important that, you know, you evaluate that. And, you know, one of the things I think that will also tie into is you look at your budget. So when you're looking at your wants versus your needs, of course, when you're thinking about your emergency, you're not even counting in your wants. You need to be looking at the things that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So if your monthly budget, and you're even looking at, like, let's say, like you said, 3 months, are you looking at 3 months of everything you spend, or did you look at 3 months of your necessities and your priority spending?
Mm, that's a good question.
That's okay. I know somebody who'll help you out.
I know, right? I know somebody.
I might know somebody.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I'm just thankful to be connected to, someone like you, because it helps me to ask myself the right questions and to dig a little deeper.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I know somebody who can help me with that. What's some advice you have for millennials and even Gen Z about retirement? Because I mean, we think we're gonna be young forever.
Mm-mm.
Before you know it, it's like, okay, you got gray hairs popping out here and there, and
Mhm.
like retirement is a lot closer than what you think. So,
Yeah.
any basic retirement advice you can give us for people who think we're just gonna be young forever, but we know that's not.
Start early.
Hmm.
Start early. Time is your friend. I just had a meeting yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Friday. My days all mixed up. So I just had a meeting yesterday with one of my clients, and we were discussing her retirement account. And she's 33. And she was just like, "Oh my gosh, Danica, I'm just kind of stressed because I'm looking at my 401k, and with the pandemic, then Ukraine, then inflation, my account's been all over the place. It's just,
Yeah.
I just feel like pressure, pressure, pressure." And I told her, "Breathe, child." I was like, "Number one, it's like you're 33. You have like 15, 20 plus more years for of working ahead of you. So
Hmm.
time is on your side." So the first thing I would tell a millennial, Gen Zer, Gen Xer, I'm all confused with all the names
No, right?
now, is to start early. Start early and just start. Now, I know coming right out of college, a lot of us have, the student loan demon on our back. So it's like
Yes.
between student loans, rent, maybe a mortgage, maybe marriage, maybe a baby, maybe work. It's like, Danica, I feel stretched, but start with something. At a minimum, do what you can do to max out the match that you get from your employer if you work for an employer who offers a match. Because then at least you're taking advantage of what I like to call the free money, and
Hmm.
you can always increase later on down the road. But it's easier to have this conversation about starting to save when someone's in their 20s and 30s, even 40s, versus when someone has hit their 50s and they're like, "Oh, well, I wanted to retire next week. Can you work a miracle? I haven't saved a dime." And I'm like, "I'm not Jesus. So no, no miracle working over here. The only working that's going to happen is probably you will be working longer." So
Right.
one thing I ask people is, do you aspire to work for the rest of your life? And that means two different things to different people. Work could be working for the same employer as in a 9 to 5 job, or work could be, this is something I enjoy doing, and I'm not doing it out of necessity. I'm doing it out of enjoyment.
Hmm.
Now, that is why you also have two different types of retirees, I should say. You have those who are thriving in retirement, and then you have those who are surviving in retirement. And
Hmm.
there's two differences. The
Hmm.
person who's thriving, not only do they have enough money that they don't have to worry about it running down, but their expenses are paid that they need, and they have discretionary income so they can enjoy retirement. The
Hmm.
person who is surviving, more than likely, they possibly might not have accumulated enough in retirement before they decide, "I'm not working anymore." Sometimes they're very much dependent on Social Security. Perhaps they didn't save enough in their 401k or 403b or whatever. Or perhaps they encountered like a life event that, changed the trajectory of what retirement looked like. And that can be like a medical event. There's so many things that happen. But
Hmm.
that's why planning for the what ifs in life are so important, because you are then working with a professional where you're right. You in your 30s, you might not even be thinking about retirement, but this person who you've decided I want to work with, they are thinking about Stacy's retirement. They
Mhm.
are thinking about Stacy's goals. They are thinking about what are some of the speed bumps and some of the detours that Stacy might have to take because this is what I live and breathe every day. And
Mhm.
so that's why it's not only just important to start, but it's also important to be working with someone who's looking out for your best interest in the whole
Absolutely.
process.
That fiduciary.
Hmm.
Yes. So we've talked about budgeting and starting early. What are some other habits that, we should think about when it comes to taking care of our money?
Hmm. So saving beyond just your retirement, your personal saving, we talked about that. Talked about retirement. Some other things is about leaving a legacy. One of the things we talk about often in our community, and I'm so excited about it, is this conversation about Black wealth. Black wealth matters, and millennial money matters, and we're doing things different than prior generations. Well, a part of that is not only your financial stewardship, your financial habits, but what are you leaving for the next generation, whether that be your family or whether that be your community. So having conversations about how does wealth continue to grow within your own household is also something that's vital. And some of that is just from, looking at the company you keep.
Mhm.
um, I share with people all the time, there's three different types of friends. Fun friends, where it's like we just hang out to have a good time. Functional friends, like perhaps, hey, we work together, so we hang out and we work friends, as people would say. And then flourishing friends, where you're pouring into one another, you're being transparent with one another, you're being held accountable to one another. I shared with somebody, why does it seem that I always got a friend who will text me about a sale, but won't text me about, hey, girl, did you hit your goal this week?
Mhm.
And we have to do better. If you have a friend who likes to eat out all the time, y'all need to start eating at home. Be like, look, we got food at home. You're free to come over. We can make it like a master chef situation.
Yes.
Have happy hour and food at home and
And
hang out.
tacos are not just good on Tuesday. They are good
Tacos are
every
good
day of the
every
week.
day of the week. Look, so it's a lot of things, but the company you keep is also another thing. But I think, I wouldn't even say that it goes back to necessarily just one strict practice, but you hit the nail on the head in the beginning of our conversation about what are you speaking over yourself, as well as what is your purpose really. What are you being intentional about as it relates to money? Yes, saving is important, but attaching an action to your why is what actually, to me, is what produces fruit. Because it's easier for me to operate from a place knowing that someone's depending on me. So if you're a parent out there, not to put you in a seat of guilt, but you have to evaluate the fact that there are some little people who are looking at me, and my actions are going to dictate how they operate in their adult life. My actions are going to influence their relationship with money. My actions are going to basically, they're going to be absorbing that like a sponge as it relates to how do I adult. And you, once again, don't necessarily have to perceive this as, a major task and role and responsibility, which it is, but you should look at it as an honor. Because even if you're someone like we talked about, who you're first generation, curse breaker, you can say, hey, it's starting with me and my household. For
Mhm.
me and my house, we eat at home. For me and my house, we save money. I have a friend who's also a client who has children, and they started with their girls when they were like 4 or 5 years old. Um, they get like dimes and loose change for chores. And then at the end of the week, if they have good behavior in school, they get to go to the snack bar at home. And
Mhm.
every snack or whatever has a price to it. So they're
Ooh,
learning as little kids. So you can use that with your son.
yeah, yes. Oh my gosh.
Kids, like, okay, the big cookie is 5 cents. So you have to make a decision. Do I want to spend my money this week, or do I save it so maybe I can get a bigger prize, or maybe I can get two or three things next week? So that's one of those, habits that was really fun to help those parents come up with. But they're like, also, it's teaching their kids early
Yes,
about finances, and not such a
definitely.
read a
Yeah.
book way, but in an action way, because they know, A, behavior in school is important.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be on my best behavior, and I need to be a good sibling. I need to be a good child to my parents. I need to clean up because they know everything comes with certain things. And it's also talking about reward, but also teaching them, hey, when you don't do what you're supposed to do, you made a choice.
Right.
So maybe you eliminated that you can't go to the snack bar, this Friday because you were bad. So that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Or hey, you spent all your money last week, so you don't have any money this week.
I
Sounds like you need to
really
go
like
get some.
that.
Sounds like you need to get to sweeping or find some work to go do.
Yes, I love that. Because I mean, what kid doesn't like snacks, right?
Mhm.
And just being able to help them create a positive relationship with budgeting so it doesn't feel like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Mhm.
It'll just become innate. I love that. So yeah, thank you. I'm still in that idea.
Please have it. You don't have to steal it. Like I said, I'm pouring it. I'm
Oh,
giving
thank you.
it
I
out to the
appreciate
world.
that.
I'm just giving it out to the world.
Thank you. Yes. So we talked about budgeting and being financially responsible, all this stuff. You did mention that you like to travel
Mhm.
and you try to take 2 international trips a year. Um, what else do you feel like you splurge on? What does someone who is very money focused splurge on?
What do I splurge on? So, travel is always my thing. I will always love that. And I am a foodie. I love food.
You my
And
girl, travel and food. Oh my God.
right. But
You
look, we're gonna have to have our goals set because we got
yeah,
these flourishing friends. You
yeah.
can't be my fun friend.
Oh yeah, no. Listen, I had enough of that in my
Right, exactly.
in my youth.
You're so silly. But yeah, I love food. So, in all different types. So like I'm the type of person where I'll stay home on a Friday night and like binge watch like Chef Ramsay, like a
Oh
cooking
my
show,
God.
or I'll
Kitchen.
binge watch, the guy who used to travel and eat all the Anthony Bourdain, or
Yeah,
food and drive-ins and dives, because
yeah,
I just find, culinary experiences to be like just amazing because it's another way to connect yourself to culture. So I splurge on travel, food, and groceries because I also love cooking. So, for example, I follow all these different home chefs, and they'll make recipes, and I'll like rip it out of a book or like a magazine, or I find it on Instagram, screenshot it. I'll go and look at the ingredients. Sometimes the ingredients are more expensive
uh-huh.
because it's a higher quality something, or it's just something that's foreign and it just costs more money. And so it's just like, I know that, hey, I have this meal I want to make. I know that I'm not going to probably be able to go out to eat for the rest of the week because the protein alone cost me $40, something like that. So that is what I splurge on. But ultimately, you know, it's a reward for myself.
Yeah.
And like I said before, if I'm not hitting my other goals, I'm not doing any of the others. So like I said, I like to take 2 trips. That don't mean it happens all the time,
Right.
but I like to, because life happens too, and then when life happens, you have to just shift and adjust.
Hmm.
One thing I would tell for people who are into traveling and new experiences, you don't have to, be confined to the idea of travel and fun travel being international.
Right.
I'm a big fan of staycations, and I'm a big fan of exploring what's around you. We're here in Virginia where we have like, 3 different types of regions.
Mhm.
We're here in the beachy tidewater area. You go out west, you're like in wine country, go even more west, you're in like mountainous country. Going up north, you're basically on the edge of like really, fast moving city life. So sometimes, it's cool to explore at home, and
Mhm.
also look at like, and I'm mentioning places that are a drive away. See what's drivable. See, I'm a big fan of Airbnbs and Expedia. Let me just say this, I'm a fan of a deal. So a deal, I'm going to more than likely do it. But if something's just not within my, I just can't. I
Yeah.
have some friends that will invite me to stuff all the time. And then when they send me the price tag, I'll be like, that's out of my budget, or I'll have to save. And also, I had to really evaluate sometimes, well, what else am I willing to kind of sacrifice or
Mhm.
compromise on my want list? Because the needs, I can't shift from those, but the wants, I can adjust. So maybe if it's a concert coming up and I really wanted to go, maybe I don't eat out for X amount of weeks or months because I'm saving up or I'm using that money towards, this concert or something like that or festival. So
Mhm.
those are just some things that I evaluate when I'm making my own personal decisions about on how I'm spending money. Like I tell people, looks can be deceiving. I am also a work in progress. I do
Mhm.
not have it all figured out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
oftentimes I have made financial mistakes, but that's, I think, about something that makes us stronger as people and specifically as women, as we are who we are today. Sometimes it's because of the mistakes and things that have shaped us. If I knew then what I knew now, I'd be in a much different place. But I'm always thankful for the experiences God allowed me to go through to bring me and shape me for the woman I am today.
Awesome. And so you seem to be very disciplined. Is that something, you know how some people are just disciplined, or is it something that you had to learn and kind of um, shape yourself into?
I think it's a combination of both. Like you mentioned, our younger years,
Mhm.
I definitely was the average teen to 20 something year old where I had to figure things out. Now, growing up, my parents instilled in me a lot of discipline and the things we're talking about today. But also, I turned 18 and I wanted to experience life. And so I backslid a lot. Like, I mean, literally, my dad is a financial advisor. He's been doing this for 37 years.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
still wasted money in college.
Yeah, yeah,
I still was, on the ramen noodle
yeah.
meal,
Because
peanut butter and
experience
jelly,
is the
grilled
best
cheese
teacher.
sandwich.
No
Right.
matter what, experience is the best
It is, but also it makes you relatable,
teacher.
because I think sometimes, and I appreciate the perception that I give, but in full transparency, I have made financial mistakes. I have done things where I'm like, look back now at 30 something, and I'm like, girl, why?
Yeah,
Like the other,
you
like,
sound like
I
me.
can think about, several years ago when I was kind of like purging my closet and drawers and containers, and I'm looking at all the clothes I wore one time. And I'm like, A, I can't fit them no more, so I can't wear them again. B, I'm like, what? I was like, I wore this once. Why didn't I wear this like a million times for as much as I paid for it? And it's just like I made some really silly mistakes.
Yeah.
But also those are things that I did not allow to bring into my adult life.
Mhm.
There are some people of us who are still, captured by the one-time demon. And it's like you need to release that, call its name, call on God, and release that one-time spirit out of your system.
Yeah.
It is not good for you. No one cares that you wore that outfit and you're gonna wear it again. I told someone the other day, because my sister always jokes on me about there's a particular blazer that I just love. It's like you just gonna wear that blazer. That's gonna be that blazer again. And I'm like, but you know what? I was like, but it's my blazer, and I love it. And
And
I
I look good in it.
I look good in it. And I was like, who cares? So if I do something, an event, and someone's just like, oh, she had on that blue dress at something else. Oh, well, at least guess what? It's my favorite blue dress. And now let's move on to the real topic of the discussion, which is your money. so, so let's get into it. So, on this call today, I am speaking over you, sister and brothers, for the people who are being possessed or have the one time demon on their shoulder or that I can't wear this again. No, yes, you can. And
Yeah.
no one's going to clock you for your money.
Oh
And
my
anyone who tries to come for you,
goodness.
I hope that in a very nice, nasty way, you can tell them, thank you. I appreciate you for noticing and keep it moving.
Yeah. Oh
Because
my
at the end of
goodness.
the day, who you have no one else to hold you accountable, but you have to be accountable to, but to yourself and
Yeah.
to God, and also to your family, who are the people who you impact on the day to day. So we have a problem in society on worrying too much about what other people got going.
Yes.
I
Oh
did
my
a
goodness.
for the ODU Black Alumni chapter. I was had the opportunity to be a panelist on this. It was titled "Keeping Up with the Joneses,"
Mm.
and it's like you need to stop. I like to call it keeping up with Instagram
Yeah.
and what everyone or Facebook or what everyone else has. But remember, social media is a platform where you get to shape what is the content you are putting out there. Now, there are some people who they will truly be 100% transparent and go in on their family matters and all that stuff in the
Yeah.
spirit of transparency, which I don't knock you for. That's your business. It's just
I'd
tapping
be
the
like,
brown
come
flag.
on, like, come on, just pull it back just a little
Right.
bit. You need a diary or a journal.
But then there are some people where they're like, I'm going to show certain things. And that's also a choice. But
Hmm.
you cannot capture what someone else has going on financially and in their personalized life by what they post. And
Absolutely.
you should not be trying to covet what other people have going on because you do not know what's going on in their household. You
Girl,
don't know
you better
what's going on in
preach.
their marriage. You don't know what's going on with their children. You don't know what's going on with their health. You don't know what's going on with their job. You don't know what's going on with their own money.
Absolutely.
But you can be, 100% on board with what you have going on and pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to do. We have to, disconnect. It's no problem with saying, man, that's nice. Like I screenshot stuff all the time, like, man, that's a cute purse, or man, that's a cute thing. But guess what? Then I take the screenshot because I learned a hack and then I put it on the Google to go
Mm-hmm.
find where can I buy it and where is it on sale or where's the knockoff version of the
Mm-hmm.
Versace dress because I can't afford it. So once again, going back to my deal concepts, but those are some things, and a lot of this as it relates to getting yourself, financially well, since we're talking about financial wellness, is it has to start up here and in here.
Yeah.
So you have to get your mind right, you got to get your heart right, and then your actions and things have to follow. So
Absolutely.
discipline is not even just an actionable thing, it's also the mental discipline you have to oftentimes tell others no, but to also say no to yourself. My
Absolutely.
favorite thing is to tell people, I know you got stuff sitting in that Amazon cart or Shein cart or wherever cart. And, before you press
How
and
well do you know me?
before you accept the terms and agreement and do the auto pay, yes, PayPal, yes, for pay over 4 months, whatever, you just have to say over yourself, is the decision I'm getting ready to make going to push me towards my goals or is it pulling me further away from my goals? And if it's something that I'm willing to compromise, where have I declared to myself that I am not going out to eat and I'm going to put it into action to make up for this purchase? And I know that might sound like, man, Danica, that sounds like a lot of talking to yourself before you do something, but why not?
Yeah.
I have a pair of Nikes um, in my cart right now at Nordstrom because they know what I like on that algorithm.
Yeah.
So some shoes popped up and I was like, man, those they have different colors in them. They even got some leopard print. I was like, these are
Goodness.
cool. I love these sneakers. And then I kept looking at the price and I'm like, well, I have that. But you know what? I just went and took an entire day trip last weekend, went out to eat. I want to get crabs this weekend.
Oh, that's my plan too this weekend.
Right. So it's like, do I want the shoes or do I want these experiences? And plus, let me go back to my budget because I've already spent money on certain things. So the more time I obviously in taking and reasoning, I am slowly have talked myself out of these shoes.
Absolutely. And you
And
know what's interesting? I do the same thing. I just like window shop online on my
mhm,
phone, just put it all in my cart, and then I'll just look at it, come back a day or two, and I'm like, I don't need this. But it
no,
just made me feel good just putting it in my cart.
mhm,
And then I just go and delete it. It's
yeah,
not, a necessity at the time or something that I need to be spending in the moment. But I've
mhm,
learned to discipline myself that way to just window shop and put things in my cart. A lot of times, what I love is when it's no longer available. So then I don't even have the choice or the
right.
option
You
to,
click on it,
make
and
a
it's like
purchase.
the items in your cart are no longer available because they've been sold out.
Yep.
And it's like, but look, but then the thing that are left, sometimes are things that you need, like cleaning supplies
Yeah.
or pens or something that you actually needed. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right. But,
Right.
I think also in our shopping, I also talked about it because, you do need clothes. So I'm never going to say that that's a want over a need. Now, quality is important. um, I told someone the other day, I am a secondhand thrifter, consignment shopper, all the way, especially for like work stuff,
Hmm.
because I'm like, I'm not spending $100 for a blazer. It's just not going to happen for me. If I can find something that is a very nice black blazer for 10.
Hmm.
So, considering that, as well as just being mindful of waste and fast fashion, which is
Yeah.
contributing to what's happening in our environment, that's
Hmm.
another thing. I told someone the other day, Clothes Mentor in Virginia Beach, that is my spot. Half the
Okay.
time I'm wearing like really cute stuff when you guys see me out doing these community things. I got those clothes from there. Because why not?
Shout out to Clothes Mentor.
And guess what? You get stuff for like 50, 70, 80% of what probably someone else paid for it.
Yeah.
And it's not raggedy. It's lightly the stuff I just bought from there probably 2 weeks ago, they all still had tags on it, the
Hmm.
original tags, which meant somebody bought it and either they didn't like it, or the same thing we're talking about. You had so much stuff that has sat in your closet and it's like, I don't want this anymore.
Right.
So between bargain shopping, couponing, looking for sales, these are some other things that you could be doing in your daily life. And I know that it sounds like, oh, these things will take time, but what's the rush?
Right.
I definitely look for coupons online. I grocery shop. I grocery shop at a store where I get points and things accumulate and it takes
Mhm.
off because every dime I can get back is a dime I deserve.
Absolutely. And one thing that I do when shopping, and this is advice that I give people when I was a personal stylist, is start with clearance and sale and then work your way back. Start with clearance because there's so much good stuff on clearance and sale. Like, so, it's not like it's damaged goods. It
Mhm.
just didn't sell for whatever reason. Um,
Clearance and sale are my love language. I go into a store, I go straight for the clearance and the sales rack
in the back.
in the back. And I have found so many gems.
Yeah.
And that started from habits that my mom, shout out to Miss Patricia Royster, instilled in me when we were children. Like we would go Saturday mornings where that on top of cleaning, once that got done, a reward is okay, we might go to the mall. If we're
Hmm.
going to the mall, we're going straight for the sales section. Or sometimes one of the things we used to do is we used to do Saturday morning thrift hauls before they were a thing. Now
Mm.
I show my mom like how everyone's shopping at a thrift store. She's like, "Oh, they the ones driving up the prices."
Yeah.
She's like, "Because before y'all started this, this used to be 25 cents. Now it's 50-cent t-shirt days. What's going on here?" I told her inflation.
Yeah, right.
But those are things that my parents kind of instilled in me. I did not get every pair of Jordans that came out
Yeah.
because A, we couldn't afford it, and B, my parents made choices. They decided that when we were living in Portsmouth, we want to have a house one day and we want to get a house built. So my parents had to make certain adjustments in our life for that to happen. And then even when we moved into our house, there were still certain adjustments as relates to finances and things that had to be made. They're constantly telling me, we could have driven nicer cars. We could
Mhm.
have taken more vacations. We could have had you all in Jordans and all this stuff all the time. But we also recognize we had a responsibility as your parents to set clear examples and expectations. But also, we had personal goals we wanted to reach as relates to paying off our house, paying off our cars, paying down our debt, saving money so we can retire, etc. And in hindsight, they were able to hit their goals because they were disciplined and they did what was required to get what they wanted.
Yeah. And I think that's excellent because I mean, sometimes so many of us in our community put so much value on brand names and
Mhm.
how expensive things are. And I tell people honestly, when you look at the quality of Walmart, Target, and Old Navy, the quality of the clothes rival those at Saks and Nordstrom.
Mhm.
Not lying.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I've been to places where, even when I'm out the country, I'm going somewhere and, you know, I used to have like, oh man, well, I want to be able to, if I'm going someplace and I know going to want to take pictures there. And I saw someone else and it's like, oh, well, she had on this white dress. I'm like, I can't afford that white dress, but I can find something that's a better quality that I will wear again coming from one of these other places. And I've been to places and done things and people be like, oh my God, where did you get that? And as soon as I tell them TJ Maxx, they're looking at me like, what? And
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, I did. Where did you get this? Like literally yesterday, even today, my entire outfit is thrifted and secondhand. Cause why not?
Why not?
No, except for these earrings, because I did have to pay for those. Because I'm kind of weird about the earring thing. Like the
I
earrings
get it.
gotta be
I
fresh.
get it.
But I
Yeah.
can't be putting someone else's ears in my ear.
Yeah.
The earrings are I did pay for these, but I've also had these earrings for like 10 years. So
Yeah. And
they
then that speaks to quality too. So
mhm.
it's not like just because, you don't spend hundreds of dollars on something that it's going to fall apart. I tell people all the time, like when I used to work at Nordstrom, the quality of certain brands of their shoes did not hold up to the quality of shoes that I got at Payless. And I even had a girl tell me, I had a customer ask me where I got my shoes from one time, and I told her Payless. And then my coworker was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe you just told her Payless. You could have at least said Target." I was like, "Girl, these shoes came from Payless."
Child cheese. Let me help save you some ducats.
Absolutely. And the quality was so much better. I've had shoes that I've gotten from Nordstrom. I won't say the brand, but they've fallen apart. And I've never had that happen from shoes that I've gotten at Payless. So,
There it is. There it is.
oh. Now I want to move on really quickly and ask you about what you do for self care, because you're very busy. You
Mm.
have a lot going on, and you're so giving of your time and energy. So, what do you do for self care?
The first thing is rest. Rest. I'm a part of the NAP ministry.
Oh,
So,
girl.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
I say.
Girl.
The NAP ministry. I enjoy good quality peaceful rest. Because you're right. You're going. I'm constantly having all different types of conversations, talking to people all different types of
Mhm.
times about all different types of things. So, rest is one of my favorite self care things. Another is I love going to my therapy sessions with my therapist.
Love
That's
it.
always really good for me to kind of just like unwind and purge and vent and get it all out. And then, she helps me put the pieces back together to build me back up. So,
Right.
rest, therapy. I love cooking, as I mentioned. To me, being able to take, various ingredients and create a dish, there's something really magical about that and creative. I can't draw or any of those other things or paint, but I can cook. And
Yeah.
you put a recipe in front of me, show me what I'm supposed to do, I can do it. So I enjoy cooking. And then just the bigger one is spending time with my family and friends,
Mhm.
my real true tribe, where I get to be my authentic self. Not that I'm not authentic and, as a financial person or as a councilwoman, but I get to be, Danica unfiltered and Danica not having to watch or worry about what she said. And because these people know my heart, they know my character, and they know who I am as a person.
Mhm.
So for me, those are my favorite things to do for self care. And then the occasional massage, because like you mentioned, we getting old, so a girl got back issues.
The back, the lower back, and the hip. It's like, oh wait, oh
And
wait.
that's the thing. I don't even know if it's like an age thing or is it like just something that everybody just gets. Because I was talking to one of my friends as I literally sit in my work chair that has the massager on it
I
because it helps
love
my
it.
back on the day. Yeah, so I'm like, it's okay. Maybe it comes with age, or I was like, what, or maybe it's just from all of the things us as Black women we carry,
Mm,
So it's
that's
like
good too. You know,
bag,
it's a
bag
combination.
lady. So I'm trying to release all these other bags so I can lighten the load so my
Yeah.
back don't hurt so much. But
Yeah.
the occasional massage is also nice. But those are the things I like to do for self-care, is things that um, feed me internally through my stomach, but also through my soul. So those are my favorite
Absolutely.
things to do.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you mentioned therapy, and the women who I've had on Grown Girl Talk have really been in sync with talking about therapy, and I'm so glad that we have decided to break generational curses
Mhm.
by going to therapy and making sure that our mental state is well, and
Yeah.
not to feel like we have to carry everything in silence and just end up being a mean black lady. You
Mhm.
see, mean black lady, it's because they did not take care of their mental.
Mhm.
And I'm just so proud that you shared that information. Thank you so much for being transparent. Thank you, Danica, for just being Danica and being so concerned about people and our well being, not just financially, but spiritually as well. You are a great person. You know what I mean? Just a solid person. And I appreciate that. Um, and listen, we have so much in common. It's so funny. I was smiling so hard when you said about the recipes and taking screenshot. Girl, I do the same thing. And cooking and just like, and Alan will say, he'll be like, man, if we weren't already married, I would marry you because you cook.
Ooh, be
And
like,
I'm
you can tell him that he can marry you every week.
like,
You can marry me every week. Just get real.
yes,
Let's have
I
a
love
first date every week.
it.
No, I'm the same way. So I'll find recipes and then I'll DM them to my boyfriend, because that's also where I know I can always go to the DM and find the recipe I sent it,
Yes,
because I'll save it and then it'll be like a million things saved. But certain ones I'm like,
yes,
this is like a date night idea, and we'll cook together, which is really fun.
yeah,
Or I'll plan meals for like my family, which is really one of my favorite things to do. But yes, the recipes, that's my favorite.
yes,
And there's a couple of different like bloggers I'll follow. They'll use like various seasonings. I will buy those seasonings. So that's something that I enjoy doing. But yeah, girl, sounds like we're gonna have a cook night.
yes. Oh my goodness, my nephew is the head chef at Brothers in Norfolk,
Oh
and
wow.
I got him to tell me the secret to his lamb chops. So
Oh wow. Oh wow. That's
I
a lot, because I
pulled it out
love
of him. I
lamb.
pulled it out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, lamb
So
chops, those
yeah,
are something special. I love lamb
yes,
chops.
yes. Because I've always had them to be like kind of gamey, but
Mm-hmm.
when he makes them, they're not gamey. And Kevin, don't worry, I'm not gonna tell everybody your secret. But I
Right.
know that
Everyone who's watching this is gonna be
so
like, okay. I was taking notes on the other stuff, but this is important.
right. I'm not gonna tell the secret, but he told me how to eliminate the gamey taste out of it, and I
Mhm.
cannot wait to try it.
There you go.
Um, so I'll do all of that, and I'll get Alan to put them on the grill, and it's
Mm,
a whole little dance that we do. So
I love it.
yes, we have so much in common. And I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, your Saturday morning, to be here with me and share this information with my audience, because this is life changing information. If people
Mm,
actually listen to what you say and apply these principles and practices, even down to tithing, budgeting, being disciplined and asking yourself these questions, being introspective to say, is it necessary? How
mhm,
is this going to benefit me in the future? Is it going to benefit me in the future?
mhm.
And so I really appreciate you for taking the time out to speak with me and my audience. And I can't wait to be in the same room with you July 16th.
Yes.
We still have tickets available for those who have not purchased your tickets yet. You can go to my website, stacycreated.com, and purchase your ticket. It's going to be amazing. And Danica mentioned that she loves food. Guess what? Your girl loves food too. brunch is gonna be good. I made sure the menu was awesome. So we're gonna be full physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And I just cannot wait to start to curate the sisterhood among the people who are gonna be there. So I look forward to seeing you, Danica. And until next time, my audience, thank you so much for tuning in. And y'all take care.
Take care.